So a Cairo is a monogram.
You can see all the black soot. Six different chambers, one of which is quite, or two of them are quite obviously root cellars. But then the other four, we just saw the one called the Cairo chamber. It's got all the inscriptions inside and outside of it. And then you have the three chambers here at the main complex that all have astronomical alignment. So this is, are you guys recording?
Yeah.
Because I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
So this is chamber 3, and the numbering system came from David Barron posting his signs, which is somewhere around here. So there's a sign that has a 3 on it. But this is chamber number 3, and that's sort of what we go identify it as when doing the archaeological research out here. So, differently from chamber 1, chamber 2 and 3, which this is chamber 3, both only have one astronomical alignment that we know of, and it's to the winter solstice sunrise. So sitting in here, the sun comes up over here, right as it crests the horizon. It sort of washes along this rock right here and illuminates the back corner. So I'll tell my story briefly about this specific chamber. So in either 2016 or 2017, we were out here at night to identify if chamber 2 and 3 aligned to the midsummer lunar standstill. So we're out here at probably about 11:30 at night, somewhere around there, pitch dark. So chamber 1 and 2, which we'll go to after, are right next to each other. And there was 3 of us. I took chamber 3, which is a football field and a half away and over a ridge. So you're kind of out of voice communication unless you scream. Everybody else. So anyways, I'm just sitting right here, just hanging out, pitch black, can't even see my own hands because it's so dark. Just waiting to see the moon rise to see if it aligns and hopefully capture a photograph. While sitting here, it was weird. You sort of get this feeling of dread. You know, not even like that old feeling of being watched. It was just an instantaneous feeling of dread, like I'm in danger type feeling. And though couldn't physically see anything, it almost was trying to imagine what I was feeling. Was that there was a figure or several figures that were standing around me, whether I was inside, standing right outside, they were all standing around me, reaching to grab me, but always getting closer, but never actually touching. And eventually I just kind of walked away. So with that feeling, just overwhelming sensation of dread. And I'm not the only one that's experienced it right here. I've had several friends I brought out that said the exact same thing, not knowing about my story. So that's kind of why we're doing Chamber 3 today.
Now, where on the back wall does the sun actually hit?
So it's right in the corner. So that's right in here.
Right into that little nook?
More up here. I mean, it hits the whole area, right. So there's no roof. So these 3 stones right here were the roof slabs, and the Gungywamp Society removed them along with Chamber 4 out of fear that they were going to collapse on a kid if these 2 chambers were not entirely stable. So now you have 2 chambers that are still fully intact and the other 2 are not. They intentionally removed those stones. but the opening was much smaller at that point. So I believe it rested about right here, came across at an angle, so you had to crawl in, and you get that winter solstice sunrise illumination in the back corner. Any other day of the year, other than within that 5-day period, it wouldn't enter the chamber in the same way. So. Yep.
You guys got any questions?
You said your people that you brought out here have had
Yeah, I've had a
feelings of dread.
few people that describe the same or very similar sensation to the point where they wanted to leave.
Was it at night or was it during the day or didn't it matter?
Didn't matter. So, same thing, time of year, didn't matter. So.
Yeah, we're good.
You know me. I
Yeah,
got
I know
a
you never
feeling
feel
that's
anything anyway.
something. So,
So, which is good. That's the grounding effort, right?
Got anything to add to that?
So, do our normal EVP, right? Then bring out the rods and I'll stand in there somewhere if you don't mind. So, my name is Jim. Can you tell me your name? Once again, we're not here for any harm, just to communicate. To find out some history about this wonderful area. Did you live on this particular site, in this area right here where I'm standing? If so, I'd like to thank you for having me in your dwelling. Again, with the understanding of no harm, just to communicate. Was this your dwelling? Did you live in this area? Can you tell me what year this is?
Because this is like the old party spot, right? So we used to come out here, you know, as a teenager with the beers and the boys and do our thing. At the time, I didn't know Chamber 3 even existed. Had no idea that it existed over there. But coming down this trail, I always got that feeling of something was right above this ridge, watching you, right on the back side of this house. So just another added thing to some of the stuff I've experienced. So this house right here is called the Adams House. It was originally built in 1746 by the Adams family. It was the first property that is known to have been built out here after the iron ore exploration from the early 1600s. So out of all the artifacts which are currently stored up at UConn in the State Archaeology Department, 90 to 95% of them came either from inside this house or immediately around it. So that's the backstory on this house, which this is going back to the Cliff of Tears. This is probably the closest thing it was kind of pointing at. because there's nothing else further that way.
That way, right.
So
This is the house that had the coin
Yeah.
under the threshold,
yeah, so
right?
all the coins that have come out of Gungywamp, which there's 4 of them, they all came either inside or right over that ridge. Was one from 1872. So the 1742 George Rex III penny was found right underneath the threshold. So the door was here. It's found right underneath that stone, which is a pretty common practice to indicate that it's kind of sort of like a cornerstone land. It indicates the date it was built. That coin's date matches with the land records for the construction, and that's how we dated it. We believe it was this area was occupied up until the late 1890s, so right before the turn of the century, and that's based on the artifacts collected and the amount of them from those eras. After the turn of the century, you really only start to find bottle caps in the trash, and the land records don't reflect anything after that. So almost everything we walked through today was part of the property for this house. So some of the walls in Gungywamp, just like anywhere in New England, some of them are enclosures for animals and farmland, others are border walls. So as we were walking there and back, there's a pretty large wall that looks like a step going up the hill. That was the original border wall for this property. So, and that starts on the other side of the swamp, but it's sunk into the swamp. And it goes all the way over this whole ridge that we're kind of at the edge of now. It goes down into the next valley, up another ridge down, and ends at the lake. So, it's the double ring of stones. It's not a sacrificial fire pit, it's not a sundial, it's not some portal to the alien world. All it is a style of mill. Alright, so what you would have is these 2 parallel rows of stones, and in the center, underneath all the leaves, there's more stones and bedrock. So it's all flat all the way around. And you would have something in the middle here that would come up, and you'd have a bar over, and you'd have a wheel that goes through the center, and it would crush like wheat and barley and things like that, grind it up for you. It's either human-powered, animal-powered. That's what this is. It's called a mill race. It's really not that uncommon. They were used from 3000 BC to the 1940s. And some of the rocks, you can feel it. If you feel the inside, you can actually tell which way the wheel was going, based on one side. Move your hand one way, it's smooth, the other way it's rough. So from this rock right here, this one right here, the Gungywamp Society back in its day had retrieved charcoal samples and carbon dated those charcoal samples, and the dates came back at 550 AD. So as far as the pre-colonial theories of the property, the existence of this feature alone doesn't really mean anything, but that date does. And another big thing towards the future of the archaeology of the property is, if they were grinding wheat, barley, things of that nature, we can find microscopic samples of it and date those samples. So both those plants are invasive species from Europe. They're not native to the Americas. So finding a plant, or the remains of a plant, that are dated to pre-Columbus is game over. You just dated the site pre-colonial European site. So that's a lot of money to do. Maybe one day we'll get involved in that. But that's the story here. I have dug the whole thing up all the way down a couple times actually. It's pretty cool to see, but we usually rebury it, that way it doesn't get destroyed. Economical alignment to the winter solstice, the same as Chamber 3 where we were before. Both of them, the entrances face the exact same direction. So the difference is, with Chamber 3, it sort of side swipes the wall, hits the back corner. With this, it comes right down the center, and if you have a flashlight, there's a big piece of white quartz at the back, and it illuminates it. So it's pretty cool if you are inside it right when it happens.